In this series for the Planted Aquarium Lighting series, we're going to talk about and go over some of the high-tech lighting kit options that are out there and some of the stuff that I've experienced with, and a little about high-tech lighting solutions and do you really need it. So check it out. High-tech aquarium lighting solution. Now that is a little misleading word because high-tech itself is kind of misleading in the way that we're really talking about high budget lighting, because just because it's low budget doesn't mean it's high tech, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Now before we go on, if you're new here and you want to learn more about aquariums or talk about aquariums, please hit that subscribe button as well as that notification icon so you'll know when I'll do more videos as well as live stream. And again, if you're a current subscriber here, hit that like button and leave a comment about anything I talk about in this video. Now, when we talk about high-tech lighting solutions, we're not really saying high-tech, we're more saying high budget in the sense that it's built much better than the low-budget options, as well as it's built to the way that it has more quality as in the color spectrum that plants need to grow. Also in the sense that most of the high budget lighting kits are built to penetrate deeper tanks. In other words, more power rating hitting that substrate level. So we are talking quality, not just quality in the product itself, but the quality of the light that is being produced for plants to grow. Specific plants, for example, red plants need the red spectrum to grow much better, much more vibrant, and much more lush. Thus, that's why we do need that red spectrum. It's just a little harder on the lower budget type of lighting kits because it's a little more expensive. Not to mention that when you're dealing with a daylight bulb or a daylight color bulb or something, most of the time it's missing or very little of the red spectrum. And finally, of course, when we talk about high budget, there's a lot more really cool features to the light, like built-in timers, as well as the ability to adjust the intensity or adjust the color temperature. Now let's get this out of the way. Just because it's more expensive does not mean that it's more intense. You could take a very powerful floodlight and just blast the heck out of your aquarium. Of course, if you blast it and overdo it, you also grow algae. Now something that we really have to touch base on is the very general baseline advice that a lot of people give out in forums, which is, oh, you need more light. You know, you would ask, well, why isn't my plants growing? It's always, you need more light, you need more intense light, or HC needs intense lights to grow. That is complete and utter BS. That is easily proved. Tom Barr went to Japan, he did a measurement on the power ratings on the ADA gallery on these tanks, which is lush and full of HC carpeting, and all he's measuring is about moderate intense lighting. So what's this talk about needing high light to grow this plant or grow that plant? Listen. Of course, you need enough lighting to reach the substrate to grow that plant, especially carpet plants. But the more important thing to remember here is the intensity of light. The more intensity you give to the plants of light, the faster they will grow. If the faster they're going to grow, and this is where I talk about balancing the tank, the more CO2 you have to give it, the more nutrients you have to give it. So don't be surprised if you go and take that advice of just needing high light from someone that just doesn't know anything about your tank, buying that light, putting it on your tank, and suddenly a week later your tank is just filled with algae and you have no clue what's going on. That's why. Learn to balance your tank. Don't just go out and buy intense high budget lighting because you think it'll just grow your plants. So we're leaving the low budget zone here. We're talking about more well-y made products that will look great on your tank, as well as give you that quality, as well as give you that intensity based on what you're trying to do. And of course, some of these products are built to actually penetrate deeper tanks. Now we're going to go over some products that I actually use, that I've actually had experience with, that I have actually toyed with. So if you don't see your favorite here, it's nothing personal. Just leave a comment down below and let me know what you use. Now, although this video is all about suggesting high budget lighting kits here, it's really mainly done for those people that are following this series so they know the difference between low budget, high budget, and all the bells and whistles that do come for the extra pay that you're putting into the product. And finally, at the end of the day, although equipment does help you grow plants, the final factor is you and how you set up your tank, as well as what you do to grow those plants. And one final note, if I have any other videos about the products I mentioned here, you will see it pop up in the card here, as well as any links to these products can be found in the video description below with affiliate links. Again, these prices, if applicable, is based on a strip lighting of 24 inches. Now the first lighting kit I'm going to talk about is actually one of my favorite. It is made by Phoenix, and it's actually, their whole line is probably, I could suggest, is one of my favorites. So I really highly suggest this brand of lighting. The first thing we're going to talk about is the Fugue Ray Planet Plus. It's $67 on Amazon, and it's a great lighting kit, and that's probably the main lighting kit I use. Now, some people might have a problem with this because it only has 2 modes, on and off. But just because it doesn't have all the bells and whistles doesn't mean that it gives you the full spectrum, which it does. And what's very notable is that they use the red diodes for the LEDs that measures at 660 nanometers, which is perfect for the red spectrum for growing plants. And for intensity, this should give you about moderate intensity on a tank, depending again on the height of your tank itself that you're putting it on. Now the next model we're going to talk about is the Ray 2, which goes about $105 on Amazon and is built exactly like the Fugue Ray. The only difference is that this lighting kit is built to penetrate depth, so you're going to get a lot more power rating on those tanks as opposed to using the Fugue Ray. Now the next model we're going to talk about is the Planet Plus 24/7, and it's built exactly like the Fugue Ray. The only difference is it has a lot more bells and whistles. It has a controller so you can control intensity, the timer of when it comes on and off, as well as some really cool special effects if you're into that stuff. Now within this model there's the KL, SE, and the CC in that order, which basically is the next model up. And the next model really is just changes in minor differences, like maybe the differences in the legs of the light itself, how you mount it, as well as some little small tiny bells and whistles. But all in all, it does exactly the same thing as Fugue Ray, maybe just a little more powerful. The next light we're going to talk about is the Fluval Fresh and Planted 2.0/3.0, and this goes about $134 on Aquarium Co-op. I couldn't find it on Amazon, so I don't know, maybe they pulled it from sellers from selling from Amazon and just leaving it for the local fish stores to do. Some manufacturers do that just to keep the local fish stores in business. I put 2 strips on my 40-gallon breeder and it just did amazing stuff with it. Now the difference between the 2.0 and the 3.0 is that the 2.0 doesn't have the built-in Wi-Fi, as well as the ability to adjust it through the app, and doesn't have all the timers and nitty-gritty and stuff like that. The 2.0, you will need to buy a separate controller for that. The 3.0, all the stuff is built in. The next light we're going to talk about is the Kessil A80, and it costs around $130 on Amazon, and I think it's one of the more popular and probably really well made lighting kits out there. Now this will work really good for smaller tanks, maybe 20 gallons or less. You could maybe go for, maybe 40. I'm not quite sure about it. When you're doing a 40 breeder, you can probably have to get 2 lights because these are spotlight configurations. The next light we're talking about is the Tuna Sun A360WE, and this goes for about $350 on Amazon. Again, Kessil, it's a great light. Has a lot more wattage than the previous one. The previous one was 30 watts. This is 90 watts. So in other words, you're going to go with this if you're going to have a bigger tank, something about 40 or something bigger than that. Now both of these Kessils that I just mentioned has the ability to control the intensity as well as the color temperature. Again, Kessil, what can you ask for? So far we talked about LEDs. Now there's another type of light fixture that people are still using, a popular fixture, which is T5 high outputs. Now I actually don't have a name brand for T5 output fixture, mainly because when I used it, I went to Home Depot and just bought a 4-bulb fixture from the aquaponics area of the store itself. And you can go there, just look at the aquaponics and just ask someone where it is. And you can see a lot of fixtures that are there. There's 2-bulb fixtures, 4-bulb fixtures, and it's actually a lot more cheaper than using the branded stuff, and it works just as well. Now when it comes to T5 high output, the bulbs and the quality of bulbs you use is just important, if not more important, than the fixture itself. Now there's tons of more other high output fixtures and brands out there, and I know I haven't mentioned them all because there's just so many out there. So if I have not mentioned it here, let me know what you're using by leaving a comment down below. Thanks for watching, and remember, hit that like button and leave a comment down below. I love you guys. Stay wet with your tanks. I'll talk to you in the next video.